Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 33 of Arrow Slingers. We're starting to rack up the numbers now. Before you know it, we'll be at 180, which is going to be a massive show. Some sad news in the darting world to kick off. Our condolences to the family and friends of Nigel Pearson. Passed away, aged just 55. He was a brilliant broadcaster of darts, host, commentator, caller, the voice of darts, or just about. I know he covered a lot of different sports, multi-sports broadcaster, as you would call him. Speedway was one of his main ones. I think he was a little bit into the boxing, and darts definitely the highlight for me. Which is because it's the most important sport that he covered, and did a brilliant job of that. He's my favourite, along with Rod Studd as commentators. There's a lot of good ones coming through that are more your special comments kind of guys that do a bit of both, bit of special comments and calling, but definitely one of my favourite callers. He just loved a double finish, whether it was two double 18s or double 18 and double 20, which is a lot of the common ones you see. And he loved giving Wayne Mardle a bit of stick, which they all do, but yeah. Spilled a little bit of that there. It's just fantastic caller of darts, and yeah, absolutely loved every minute of it. It wasn't over the top with any of the banter that he got involved in. They all do it a little bit, but some of them go a bit overboard, and a lot of in-house jokes with a lot of their commentating, but not Nigel Pearson. Nige, they all called him, and it was fantastic. He had subtle little digs here and there, but called the darts, which is what we wanted to do. He was just so knowledgeable with basically every player, every part of the game, the counting, the history of darts and the individual players and where they'd come from, where they'd been and where they were going. He knew all there was to know. I don't think there would have been a player in England that he didn't know, from the local pub all the way up to Phil Taylor. And his love of darts, and I'm assuming it was very similar with all the other sports that he covered, but his love of darts was just unrivaled and set a standard for all the other callers to follow up with and be as involved and as loving as he was for the brilliant game of darts. He had a perfect balance between passing that knowledge on to the audience and bringing us the vibe and the energy and the atmosphere that was in the crowd. So feed you the knowledge and give you the lessons that you need to when watching a sport, tell you about it, the game, the players, the scoring, the rules, all that sort of stuff, as well as bringing the passion. He was able to do both. A lot of the times, the special comments, people would give you the knowledge of the game, the scores, the players' history, but not him. He was able to do that, as well as bring the emotions, and what he felt live, you felt that coming through with his voice and his calling of darts. It was just fantastic. You could feel what was happening at the venue through his calling. And he just, as I said, he covered both aspects really well. Like normally, you leave the special comments to do the special comments, but he could cover both aspects. So just incredibly sad that we won't be hearing his voice at the darts anymore. But his memory will live on, and one of the best ways to do that, remember him and think of him in a positive light and a positive way, instead of grieving too much and being sad because I didn't personally know him but just loved his work, is to do a Big's top 3 on his brilliant moments. So I will spend a lot of time looking down at my paperwork for this bit. But an honourable mention goes to the Gabrielle Clemens and Fallon Sherrock at the 2021 Grand Slam of Darts. Fallon Sherrock needed to win by 3 legs, I think it was, or 2 legs, 5-3, I think she needed to win by. And Gabrielle Clemens had reached that mark. Fallon needed to win 4 legs on the trot to get through. And she put the foot down. The whole situation was built up perfectly by Nige. It was as if he knew what was going to happen. He had read the playbook and the script of what was about to unfold. Fallon hit a 1-4-1, as if in unison with the crowd, started to build and grow as each dart went in for that 1-4-1. And then the rest of the match, as they got louder and quiet, he knew what was happening. And the 170 finish to win, just magnificent. gave a roar seconds before Fallon magically gave a roar as well, so you were able to hear her roar, the crowd roar in between Nige, allowing those emotions to spill over. So just perfect moment. Yeah, can't beat that. That was, no, you can beat it because I've got more, but it was just a special moment. Number 3, not as big and as important as that moment that we just spoke about. Simon Whitlock 2014 World Match Play, 133 finish, and Simon Whitlock, being the genius and the wizard that he is, was triple 19, double 19, double 19, and a lot of players didn't even know that was a way to go. They don't do the maths on that. They see a triple 19 and they're thinking, oh, he won't finish it from here. He's got God knows what's left, and he's gone triple 19, triple 19. There was only 2 people in the location that knew what was going on. Maybe 3, maybe George Noble knew what was happening as well. But Nigel and Simon Whitlock were the only people. Van Gerwen had a shocked look on his face. The crowd had no idea what Whitlock was up to, but Nigel did. So did Simon. So just a brilliant moment, and he just gave out a big roar of, look at this, triple 19, double 19, double 19, and yeah, fantastic. Number 2, a moment we speak about regularly on this show. Rhys Mathison versus James Wade, Sydney Darts Masters 2016. Another comeback by a crowd favourite. So the first one was Fallon Sherrick coming back to qualify. This is Rhys Mathison in Sydney, Australia. He's a Melburnian, but Australians get behind Australians. So still a crowd favourite, hometown boy. He was 4-1 down, then 5-2 down was Rhys Mathison. And it was the first match of the night, so the crowd was a bit quiet, settling into what was going to be a big night. And Muffo started to build, and so did Nige. Rod Harrington spent, from 5-2 down, Rod Harrington spent the next three legs of Rhys Mathison, 4 legs for Rhys Mathison, winning, talking about James Wade's throw and how it's on, how it's off, what it looks like, what he's doing. And there was no mention of Muff being Rhys Mathison, until Nige started to speak up and get with the crowd, because they could feel it building. Muff could feel it building. So Nige passed on that energy straight to us and interrupted Rod Harrington talking about James Wade's throw again, as Muff smashed in a 180 in the final leg to take the advantage, and then went on to take out 55 in 2 darts to knock out James Wade after James Wade had missed. I think he missed the 14 and hit the 999 to not allow himself a shot at the ball. And the excitement was there. The passion was there. Muff threw his arms up in the air and shouted and screamed, and Nige did as well, just to you could feel the vibe again. That's what you want. That's why it's so amazing having all that happen, and Nige's there to commentate on that. But drum roll, number 1 is MVG's 17 perfect darts. 2013 World Championships semi-final. This was a magic moment and one of the top moments you'll ever see in a game of darts. And Nige was there. He was commentating on it. It was just a nuts 2.5 minutes of perfect darts. James Wade trying to hold on. Van Gerwen going absolutely spastic on the triple 20 and the triple 19. And the double 12 in one of the legs. We all know the moment. The crowd was absolutely bonkers. You couldn't tell what was going on, except the fact that Nige was there telling every bit of what was going on. The other commentator, I don't think it was Rod Stutter, was someone along those lines, was just there as well. Go back and have a look at that, because it was just fantastic. Nige was brilliant. He lit the darts up. He took it to heights that no one could imagine. Just built it up. A lot of people look at darts and don't think how amazing it is. But if they were to watch one of the more famous matches that Nigel had commentated on, you would feel the vibe that all us fanatics get. He brought it to the fans. Not just the fans, just the casual fans as well, and the people that hadn't watched it. If they had tuned in to either one of those moments and the hundreds and hundreds of other magical moments that Nigel was there to commentate on, they would feel that, and they would be fans for life. I could guarantee you that. So rest in peace, Nigel. You'll forever be remembered, mate. All right, we'll move on. The rest of the show we'll try and get through quick, because that's the main point of this episode was all about Nigel and his phenomenal commentating career. James Wade has finally won a Premier League night after threatening 3 or 4 times. I think it was his fourth final, and he got it done. His scoring power has gone through the roof and up to another level. His finishing is as elite and strong as ever, if not better, which is hard to say because he's always been an absolutely ridiculous finisher, the best in the world at finishing a leg of darts. By the length of the Flemington Straight, as we say in Victoria, I guess is a Victorian saying. But he's just miles above in that regard. If he continues this sort of form, then he'll be one of the favourites for the match play, and not just with the bookies, with everyone himself and the other players looking at him. He will be right up there as one of the top guys. He just had a brilliant night. Sorry about that. He just had a brilliant night. He had a 6-2 win over Gary in the quarterfinals with a 100 plus average, 54% on his checkouts, a couple of 180s, 10 140s in 8 legs of darts. So that's phenomenal stuff. Fantastic. And he just didn't give Gaz a look in, as Gaz struggles with the Premier League this year. He does get hit with quite a lot of good stuff, Gary. He had a 6-2 win in the semi-final over Goghen Price. 93 average, not quite as high, but 54% on his doubles and a 161 finish. Goghen just had no answer. In the final, Joe Cullen, who made a final. Sorry, guys. There we go. Joe was just holding on the whole way. James Wade just holding on. James Wade just had too much for him with 105 average and 66% on your doubles. That's a performance that is absolutely outstanding. The doubling percentage drags the average up, yes, but you've still got to be hitting over 100 every score to average 100 plus. 15 140s in the final. So that is ridiculous. That is absolutely outstanding. Constant pressure on Joe for the whole match. He ended up with 22 fantasy points. He's moved up to third position on the ladder, equal with Peter Wright. So great stuff for James Wade. Well done. He was always going to do that. He was threatening consistently, and because he's already had plenty of wins, it was always going to boost him right up. Joe Cullen had a good night, probably one of his better nights. He's won nights with lower performance. He's won a night with lower performance and made finals with a lower performance, but this was a pretty good night. He had a 6-2 win over Michael Smith in the quarterfinal. Pretty straightforward win that. Bully Boy never really looked likely, which is strange to say about Bully Boy in the Premier League. He's normally pretty good and gets hit with phenomenal stuff, but it just wasn't Bully Boy's night. He overcame Johnny Clayton in the semi-final 6-3. Doubling once was very good. 6 out of 10. Had to be because Clayton was looking good for most of the match. Joe Cullen had 13 fantasy points, so you're doing well if you've got James Wade and Joe Cullen. But yeah, Johnny Clayton, he looked good. He had a quarterfinal versus MVG, which was the match of the Premier League so far. This one was fantastic. Johnny went 2-0 up with a 110 peg in leg 2. 13 dart first leg was starting to look pretty good. MVG was back lingering on around 85 average and not really at the races. From there, MVG hit back 152 peg, absolutely stunning. The old triple 20, double 16. Some of the more hit targets on the board throughout an entire match of darts. So to have them lined up and go bang, 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 brilliant. And then the very next leg, he's had a 131. So that is outstanding stuff. Went all the way to a deciding lead from there. Johnny averaged 109 with 60% on his doubles. That's almost unbeatable. So we talked about James Wade in the final. He's 105, 60-something percenter. 109 average 60% on your doubles is just as almost unbeatable. But Michael Van Gerwen, he almost did beat it. He was waiting on 36 when Johnny Clayton took out 71 to win. So really was one of the better matches we've seen in the Premier League so far. Semi-final for Joe Cullen. We're back to talking about Joe Cullen. He looked the winner. He had a 101 average. Johnny, this is Johnny. He looked like he was going to win. Johnny Clayton, sorry, guys. He had a 101 average to Joe's 92. It was in charge of leg 3. Left 159 after switching to the triple 19, so a bit of a brain fart there. Leg 5, he started on the 20s with 122 left and only hit a single, so a bit of a brain fart there. He threw 96 to leave 31 in leg 8, so another little brain fart. So a few brain farts for Johnny, counting errors. The 96 to leave 31 is not overly costly because you come back for that anyway, but the other two were pretty costly, the 122 especially, hitting the 21st up, leaving 102, which you can't finish. They talk about that being down to experience, but he's got to be experienced enough to be able to count that well, because most players I play against and with know on 122 you start on the 18s. But yeah, that's all right. We forgive Johnny for that because he's so brilliant the rest of the time. He had 9 fantasy points. He is in my team. Michael Van Gerwen was slow to go against Johnny Clayton. We spoke about this game a bit, but yeah, he got going eventually. Not even eventually, only took 2 legs. It was just Johnny was fantastic in those first 2 legs. He got 6 fantasy points, Michael Van Gerwen. He's still on top of the ladder. He's leading most stats in the Premier League. I think he's leading legs 1. He's leading 180s. He's leading breaks of throw. He's leading holds of throw. So most stats he's winning. Gerwin Price was the other semi-finalist. 6-4 win over Peter Wright. Looked pretty good. A couple of 180s, 2 180s. Snakebite hit 5. So he was able to overcome that. Had some excellent finishing, though, to Gerwin Price, which he had to. He had pegs of 90, 157, 76 in 2 darts, 61, 97 in 2 darts. The 61 was a 2-darter as well. So good stuff. Great finishing from Gerwin Price. Lost to a clinical James Wade in the semi-finals, though. He had 3 fantasy points. Peter Wright, as I said, hit 5 180s in his clash with Gerwin. But that wasn't enough. Just bad shots at the wrong time. That was all it was. Most of the time he was pretty good, Peter Wright, and looked the part most of the match. It was just his timing that killed him. So missing doubles at crucial times to let Gerwin in. Hitting your 40s at the wrong time. A couple of 20-somethings, I think, as well, just when trying to set up, and Gerwin was waiting on those big combo finishes that we're talking about. Yeah, just the 1 fantasy point. Gary Anderson was okay. Kind of like normal Michael Smith, I would say. He was pretty good. Unlucky to run into what he ran into, but yeah, just lost to a clinical James Wade. It was a James Wade masterclass. He just didn't have enough 2 treble visits to pressure, did Gary Anderson. He had -2 fantasy points, because when you don't win, don't take any ton plus averages, any ton plus finishes or averages, and you lose, that's what happens. That's your score. And Michael Smith was probably the first time ever in the Premier League this year. Ever, you make it sound so bad. The Premier League this year, it's probably the first match I'll say Bully Boy well and truly not deserved to lose, but was never going to win. So it was unfortunate that he didn't do better, but he didn't do better. He only had 14% on his doubles, and he was the only average in the 80s for the night. We all know that is my barometer, the 80 averages, and he was in the 80s. So, right, next week, Johnny Clayton versus Gary Anderson. That is not an overly important match. We'll talk about the ladder in a minute. I'll tip Johnny Clayton for that. Peter Wright versus Joe Cullen will play the winner of the Clayton-Ando one. I think Peter Wright will get up in that one. Been a while since he really had an excellent night, Peter Wright. So I think, yeah, you're looking at Peter Wright winning that one. James Wade versus Michael Smith. I know James Wade has just won a night, but I think Michael Smith will get over the line. He's too good to not be winning more consistently. And Gerwin Price versus Michael Van Gerwen will play the winner of the Wade-Smith clash. I think Michael Van Gerwen wins that one, and I am tipping Michael Van Gerwen to then overcome Bully Boy through to the final, and I think he'll probably play Johnny Clayton. I know I'm just tipping the top guys, and they're both in my fantasy team, but that's what I think will happen. Potentially Peter Wright also gets a night on the board. My fantasy score, 43 points, which isn't too bad. Ranked 127 for the week. I have no idea how many are in it. I think there's thousands, so that's pretty good. After being pretty high last week, I think I had just about the highest possible score last week available. So I was like ranked 9th or something, but probably equal first. There was probably 9 people. I don't know. Unless I had the second highest possible score. I'm not sure. Maybe someone played their triple captain. Yeah, I'll probably stick with a similar team unless I decide to change from who have I got? Maybe James Wade to Gary Anderson just to guarantee myself someone in the semis, but nah, I might take the punt. So the ladder for the Premier League looks like this. You have got Michael Van Gerwen leading the race on 22 points. He's due to play Gerwin Price down there in 6th. Second place is Johnny Clayton on 21, only one behind. And he is due to play 8th placed Gary Anderson. Sorry, I'm going the wrong way all the time. So let's put it back here, and that makes more sense. Yeah, that's better. Third place, you got James Wade playing Michael Smith. So, yeah, there's a big gap there. Michael Smith's got a lot of work to do. 5th place, Joe Cullen. He is playing Peter Wright in 4th place, so that is a big clash, that one. Only worth 2 points, but a win for Cullen at minimum gets him one behind Peter Wright. If Joe makes it the final, he will be equal, not necessarily in. But yeah, so you got Michael Van Gerwen, Johnny Clayton, James Wade, Peter Wright, Joe Cullen, Gerwin Price, Michael Smith, Gary Anderson. So pretty important matches coming up. And there's not a lot of top 4 showdowns. If I look properly, I don't think anyone is playing anyone. It's all top. Yeah, that's interesting. No. Yeah. Yep. Everyone from the top 4 is playing everyone outside, which is interesting. And if all those bottom 4 players win, then it does make it interesting, but unlikely. But yeah, so it's starting to look like. So if I'll put this on here. It's starting to look pretty solid for me. Those 4 there. I don't see that gap there being messed with, being erased. I just think Peter Wright's too good. He continually finds himself in semi-finals, at least guaranteeing 2 points. Same with Johnny Clayton, who bobs up for a final here and there. Michael Van Gerwen will continue to win. I think he'll win another two nights more than likely, starting with this week. But let's get rid of that Premier League ladder. All right, a bit of WDF news, World Darts Federation. We don't cover a lot of their stuff, but we are right now. It's the other variety of darts. The Australian Darts Open has been added to the calendar and awarded platinum ranking. That's the fancy terms they're giving it to mean it's worth more. It's worth more ranking points than most of their other tournaments. I don't think they have many platinum ranking tournaments. A total prize pool of $80,000. We should see some of the best over here. Then they have a lot of qualification regime and stuff, but if players don't want to come, then they pick someone else. But we should see the best over here. Neil Duff, who's just won the Lakeside Championship, and Bo Greaves, who has also won the Ladies Lakeside World Championship. A lot of talk about her potentially being the next big thing and having the best throw ever seen by a ladies darts player, which she probably does, but it's a big statement to make because Lisa Ashton already has one of the best throws you're likely to see. In general, it's a solid. Lisa Ashton just has an amazing throw in general, not just in women's darts, but out of men and women. She's got one of the better throws, so I think it's hard to top hers. I've seen a little bit of the Bo Greaves, but it'll be great having her over here. That'll just only increase the fanfare, and you want to see all the best WDF people, so hopefully we see Martin Adams over here. Richard Beanstra, hopefully we get him over here. He's a fantastic player, and I like watching him play. He's got great curls. And Neil Duff, who's just won. So a lot of good players to come over, hopefully. Yeah. That's in Echuca, Moama from the 3rd till the 6th of August. So get around that. That's a little bit exciting. I haven't done my due diligence to check how close to all the DPA action, because there's a lot of DPA action around that time. You've got the World Series qualifiers and the World Series events around August. But we'll have a better look at that and bring that information to you. I think that's the week before the World Series. So they're probably all coming over on the same dart plane. Why don't they just charter a 747? The total prize pool for the men is $16,000 for the winner. That's better than getting to the World. So if you win the Oceanic Masters, the DPA semi-sneakily, right down that the prize is around that $15,000 mark, maybe slightly more. But that's only because you're guaranteed what you'll get for making an appearance at the Worlds. There's a lot more effort that goes into it than just turning up, whereas this tournament, you just turn up, and if you win that in Moama rather than going to England, you'll pocket similar amount of money. That's all unless you do a Ray Smith and you make a round 4 of the Worlds as a qualifier. Then you're going to make a little bit more than 10 grand. So more, not WDF, but Darts Australia, which is under the same banner. The Darts Victoria, which run under the DA, which runs under the WDF, held the Easter Classic. This was a very, very good tournament. Great numbers playing. All the statistics that you can see and read, as well as watching the live stream that they had going, which kudos to the live stream they had going. They're really working hard on that. Is Dartstream Live. They don't control the internet that we have in Australia, and that is where the downfall is on their stream. A lot of it's brilliant stuff. Some of the commentating sometimes leaves a little bit to be desired, but they're all learning. They're all working on it. They don't often cover professional events like that where they do have to tame back some of their language and all that sort of stuff. So you get where it's all coming from. But most importantly, they don't control the internet available to them to run all the stuff. For instance, right now, the camera you're looking at is connected through Wi-Fi to my computer. If the Wi-Fi is shit, that vision is shit and it will cut out. It's all simple stuff, but Australia lacks that quality of NBN. We don't like to get too political, but the NBN costs millions and billions and billions of dollars and is shit. But anyway, there are a lot more names than the usual 4 or 5 that we see at the DPA events we're performing. So you've normally got Clinge, Weaning, Cumming, Thompson's always there, Leddington's always there. That's about it. Coburn has just turned up at the last couple of events. We saw a lot more names playing great darts. The most significant name that I saw, however you pronounce that term, Neon Leon Davis, the Collingwood variety, what a superstar he was, is playing brilliant darts at the Darts Victoria Easter Classic. How good's that? And he's averaging between 70 and 90 for most of his matches. So absolutely outstanding. And I was blown away by that. I didn't see him on the stream, just saw his name there and some numbers and then did some research to find out that he is right into his darts. So absolutely outstanding. I was in love when I saw that. I thought, how good is that? The guy had an amazing career at Collingwood in the AFL. Pretty sure he won the flag. He was part of the premiership team in 2010. Definitely just missed out in 2002, 2003 with Collingwood against the Mighty Lions. So, yeah, fantastic that he's now playing darts. I wonder how long he's been playing. I'm going to do some research into that and try and find out what he hopes to achieve from his life of darts. I'd love to see him play at the DPA events. There are a lot of players there that should be at the DPA events. Why they're not, I'm not sure. I have a rough idea, but it doesn't matter. But a fantastic tournament, as I said. We'll quickly run through the winners. The mixed doubles was won by Stuart Coburn and Jade Locke. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Ladies doubles was won by Lynn and Abby Morrison. Men's doubles won by Laurie Locke and Brando Weaning. Brando Weaning wins everything. They beat Danny Porter, who came over from South Australia to compete, so fantastic to see him over here. And Aaron Morrison, they beat them in the final. The women's final, Amanda Locke beat Joe Hadley. So it was a great weekend for the Locke family. Once again, I hope I'm pronouncing that. It's Loch. Hopefully it's not Loch, which I doubt it is. The youth final was won by Andrew Nielsen, 3-2 over Jackson Vickers. Get used to hearing the name Jackson Vickers. He's a gun. So the men's competition had 43 competitors. We had 7 at the last DPA event on the Friday night, followed by mid-20s, low 20s, I think it was. This had 43 competitors. So absolutely outstanding. The semi-finals did see some familiar names. Brodie Clinch, Justin Thompson, Brandon Weaning. No Mal Cumming, though. He was beaten in the last 16 by Sam Ballinger. But the big difference was in those semis, they were great contests. I think it was Weaning 7, Thompson 5. Second semi, Ballinger 7, Clinch 5. It was the numbers. Listen to these averages. It rivals anything Queensland and WA have been putting up at the DPA events. You had Brandon Weaning 83, Justin Thompson 79. Sam Ballinger, I think I'm pronouncing that right, 88 to Brodie Clinch 89. Absolutely fantastic. Now, I always talk about the Premier League. The Premier League is the 8 best players in the world who put on the best show, have potential to absolutely reach ridiculous heights. Some of those guys are averaging less than 89. I'm seeing at least one a week less than 89. So Clinch and Ballinger, even Weaning when he's up and running, because even 83 for Brandon Weaning is a little bit low by some of his huge standards. That's cutting it. That's cutting it on the Premier League stage. Outrageous. And we're just not seeing that at the DPA. Yes, they're hitting numbers like that sometimes, but for that to be there, and that stemmed through the whole thing. The whole thing was just fantastic. There was great numbers being thrown everywhere. Sam Ballinger won the whole event, and he deserved to win it. Clinch looked likely. Brandon Weaning's been winning everything. As I said, he won the men's doubles. He's winning DPA events. He looks like he's going to win every event that he turns up to, does Brandon Weaning. But, yeah, Brodie Clinch, he took out, Sam Ballinger. He took out Brodie Clinch. He took out Mal Cumming at the last 16 with an 87 average. He had a 92 average in the last 32 versus Gavin Foran. 91 average versus Aaron Morrison in the last 8 I think it was. That is a ridiculous standard. We look at players on the Pro Tour and the Players' Championship events averaging 90-something through the day. That's what he's done for the day. I think he's been at about 3 or 4 DPA events from what I could see. I went back and had a look at them all. And it looks like, 3 or 4 DPA events, but never really produced anything like that. I don't know why he's not at more events. There's got to be a reasoning behind it. Probably some of what we spoke about last week. Brandon Weaning, as I said, he looks sensational right up until the last probably leg or two of the final. I love watching him play, and I can't wait to see him tear it up at the Youth World Championships. His throw's phenomenal. I know Wayne Mardle's going to be blown away by it. It's simple. He's got a massive follow-through. He hits that board so hard, and it feels like it's going to break. But, yeah, he played pretty well throughout most of the day. He beat Neon Leon Davis 5-0 in the last 16 with an average of 97. He won it in 16, 16, 20, 12, and 13 darts. That's sensational stuff. Neon Leon averaged 83 himself, so fantastic. It was a great event, a great showcasing for what Victoria has to offer and the standard that they can produce, and just to run a phenomenal tournament. It was well run, smooth from what I could see. The streaming time that they announced that they were going to be on, they were on. There was 1 or 2 small issues with the cameras dropping out, but absolutely sensational. They definitely upped it at the DPA, their standard, towards the end of last month's weekend. And hopefully that continues, because this was sensational. This was absolutely phenomenal. And I don't know, we're not seeing as many turn up to the DPA events, and maybe that comes from the thought of appearing on the big stage, maybe. But that is a lot of the appeal for the DPA stuff, is that you get that step up to go to the PDC if you want it. Unless you're Ray Smith could definitely do it. Robbie King could definitely do it. Do they want to? I don't think so. Kai Smith is probably a young kid looking to it. You've got young Jack Shepherd down in Victoria, Hudson Nolan maybe working towards it, Brandon Weaning and Bailey Marsh. Are those young kids looking to get to the DPA? But the top guys, Sam Ballinger probably doesn't want to. Justin Thompson probably has no intention of going to the PDC and playing on the big stage. So what's the point? A bit of cash maybe, but if there's events here in Australia that you can win throughout the year and pocket that much, why not do it? Maybe that's what's happening. Maybe they don't like the idea of heading over to the States. But yeah, you can't argue with that standard. And yeah, just phenomenal. That's it for that event. Sorry for the silence, but yeah, I was just having a read of what I'd written down. And yeah, I wrote that what I've already said. It was the phenomenal standard, and it's great to have it covered. I would love to have it covered for a bit longer instead of having just the semis and the final. Just cover all the knockouts. We'll all watch that. I'll watch it all day. Just cover it all day. I would love to watch Neon Leon play darts all day. All right, last bit of business for tonight. The German Darts Grand Prix. The first 2 days went pretty much according to plan. Wesley Plazer beat Jim Williams and then Joe Cullen. So probably the biggest moment of his life. Keegan Brown beat Callan Rhys. Callan Rhys just not hitting the heights that I expected this year as of yet. Matters Razmar beat Jose de Souza in an upset there as well. Jose is just he's pretty far off the mark at the moment as to what he can normally produce. Max Hopp beat Dimitri Vandenberg, so he's definitely changed his changed his throwing style of late, and yeah, it's starting to work for him. It's working a bit better. It's taking a while. He's bringing it way back to about there, which I know a lot of them aren't liking. To bring it so far back, it's not ideal. Just like me talking from so far back, that's not ideal for you guys. So let's keep it close. Scott Weitz, he beat Peter Wright. Scott Weitz is the man that in one of the Power of Darts documentary stated that the PDC was the dark side. He'd never come over to the PDC. He's happy just beating them at the Grand Slam. Now that he can't play in the Grand Slam because the BDO is not a thing, they don't have much prize money, they don't have much of a following, and things just aren't as rosy as they used to be. He's a PDC man. So strange how money talks. But he's a good darts player. And he beat Peter Wright. Damon Hedder, he beat Raymond van Barneveld. Barney's not what he once was, and he's trying to work back to that stage, but he's still a legend, and you got to beat him, and Hedder did that. Hedder had an average of 99, and just starting to look absolutely fantastic. So we got a little bit of, they brought out some statistics that I wanted to bring up. Here it is up here. So on the order of merit, which you've got in the top left corner there, Damon Hedder is in front, equal with Joe Cullen, the Premier League superstar. Down here, you've got the 180s. Damon Hedder is ranked second on 151, only 9 behind the leader, Luke Humphries. If we move that across so that you can see it behind my fat head, running averages for the season, Damon Hedder is equal with Gary Anderson on 99.10. And ton plus checkouts, this is just about the most important stat, I think, because you got to finish. Everyone on that Pro Tour can score. The letdown is the finishing of a lot of players. And Damon Hedder can finish. He's got a best of 157. Since the last Players' Championship events, he's had 9 more ton plus finishes. And he's leading Rob Cross by 2 to have outright first on the most important stat on that list that we just showed you. Now, those stats, let's leave them up in the background for the rest of the show because it looks good, doesn't it? It reads well for our main man. Those are just ridiculous stats. They're pretty important stats, and he is leading 3 of them. Admit 2 of them he is equal with, but Doesn't matter. One of them is outright on the 100 plus checkouts, and the other one he is second on with the 180s with that pressure scoring. And I guarantee you he's had quite a lot of 171s, 174s, and 177s. And also throws a lot of 165s, 163s to set himself up really well, ready to rock and roll for the next shot. All that stuff behind me, that's going to transfer to the big stage soon. The amount of consistency he is showing on the Pro Tour, not many players are that consistent. As I spoke about with Ryan Searle last week, and we'll speak about Luke Humphries in a minute, young fellas burst onto the scene, not really burst onto the scene, they've been around for a little bit, but came out the blocks this start of this year and have really not slowed up, but dropped off a little bit. You can see Ryan Searle is fourth on the Pro Tour, Order of Merit, and Luke Humphries fifth. So it's not too bad, but they're just not the standard they thought they were going to continue to be. Damon Hedder is consistently there. So for the rest of that tournament, the German Darts Grand Prix, he was absolutely fantastic against Scott Weitz. Had a 170 peg. Had a ridiculous run against him of 12, 12, 11, and 12, I think. Darts to win, that is. And blew Scott Weitz out of the water. He survived a fight back from Johnny Clayton, who is arguably the best player in the world right now. He was 4-1 up. Johnny came back to 5-all, but that didn't matter. He broke throw in the final leg to make the semi at a beautifully timed 180 and just scored well enough to get the job done. Unfortunately lost to Martin Lukeman, who he's now lost to twice in European Tour events. So a bit of a bogeyman for him. And yeah, couldn't get it done there. 7-5, there was just one break of throw with a bit of a lackluster leg, and that was game, set, match, basically. Luke Humphries won the whole thing, though. 8-2 over Lukeman in the final. Lukeman averaged 83. So Damo would have been begging for that against him in that semi-final, but didn't get it. But a great win by Luke Humphries. You still got to get the job done, and he did. He averaged 93 in the final. But a stunning performance of 107 average and a 7-0 win over Michael van Gerwen in the semi. Great to see him back in form. He had a nervy last leg decider in his quarterfinal versus Wesley Plazer, who played out of his skin. Never heard of him before, and made it to, well, I think he made the quarterfinals. It did phenomenally well. Obviously, he made the quarters. I just said quarters. He took out 71 with 3 darts left, with 3 darts in hand, with Wesley waiting on top. So if he didn't take out that 71, he would have been in strife and out. But he won the tournament. He was pretty solid versus Michael Smith. Jeffrey Desvan, he's coming into a little bit of form at the moment. Jeffrey Desvan, after having a shocking 12 months. He'll be disappointed, Jeffrey, not to make a bit more of a go of his match against Luke Humphries. He had 6 180s to 2, but was only had 12% on his doubles or something along those lines, something very close to that. Yeah, Luke Humphries is a similar boat to Ryan Searle. They're just about ready to tear the darting world to shreds. They just somehow got to take that next step and push the barrier down, push the wall down, whatever you want to call it, and get that win on the board. They're kind of like Michael Smith, but Michael Smith is doing it to another level. He's consistently in everything. But they will get there. Unfortunately for them, they would have hoped to have done it a bit quicker this year because they both dropped off a bit after being up and about early. But they will get there. That'll just about do it for tonight. Another good episode. So much darts happening and coming at us. We can sort of take a little bit of a breather now. Think we may have another European Tour and a Premier League on, but no big darts events in Australia, so we can do a little bit more work elsewhere. We're going to get a YouTube channel up and running to have a bit of fun. More goodies coming in there. And I've definitely got a few interviews lined up. I keep saying that, but I've got a few lined up that I want to bring to the people. So thank you for listening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that was enlightening, bringing you the latest. Or the one thing I didn't bring is that Damon Hedder's moved up to 20th. He has until the World Match Play to get to 16th, which is about $57,000, $58,000 he's got to make up. Probably not going to happen. He will still qualify for that, I'm sure, but finish in the top 16 and you're guaranteed a seated spot for that and the Grand Prix, which is the double in, double out. But yeah, he is flying. We should almost call this the Damien Hedder fanboy show. We're not going to because we still love Gordon Mathers and Simon Whitlock, and we love all the players over here in Australia playing brilliant darts, including the new Easter Classic winner, Sam Ballinger, and Amanda Locke winning the ladies, and young Andrew Nielsen winning the juniors. They're all fans of, well, not fans. I'm a fan of theirs. They're part of the show. So is all Australian darts. We just love it. So join us next week for another show. We'll bring you some more interesting stuff. I've got some more equipment coming, as I said before. We'll have a look at that and a chat about that. Thanks, guys.